people who are suffering right now in our region from either loss or uncertainty, everyone here, our hearts go out to you. We are here for you for the long term. To the first responders, some of you are on 24, 30 hours without sleep and are working relentlessly. That's fire and law enforcement. We are so grateful for you, for those first responders coming from jurisdictions near and far, pulling together mutual aid as you always do, and now you're doing it for us, and we so appreciate it. To my fellow elected officials, city, county, state, federal, you have also been amazing in pulling together in communication and cooperation. I want the people of Eastern Washington to know that the geographic and political boundaries that separate us are invisible today. We are pulling together. We're here for you. And to the people of Spokane and Eastern Washington, the state of Washington, and those around the country who have connections and care about us, thank you so much. You're caring, you're generous. We pull together here when things are tough, and we're doing that. Although the fires are not out yet, the care and the recovery began yesterday, continues today, and will go on as long as it needs to go. We will get through this. I'd now like to invite Governor Bob Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to start by thanking you for your really strong leadership during this really challenging time. So thank you so much. And, I'll just start by saying there are just so many Washingtonians who have literally lost everything in a very, very short period of time. Just in a matter of hours, their lives changed in deeply dramatic and fundamental ways. And so it's difficult to find words when folks have experienced a loss like that. But we want all those individuals to know that we are all here for the long haul. We have a lot of crises right in front of us that we're working through, but we know that this is going to be a long-term challenge for many, many individuals, and we're here for the long haul. I also want those folks to know that there is very strong cooperation through all levels of government, many different sectors to work through this together. All of us and many others have very productive conversations already, starting with yesterday afternoon. So I want folks to know that is happening. And also to the first responders who, just speaking as governor, it's inspiring to me to see folks who, take on an extraordinarily challenging situation like this and put their lives on the line to protect individuals' lives and property and loved ones. So we're deeply, deeply grateful to all of you. I'll just make a few points about a few items that the state is focused on. I did just about half an hour or so ago have a conversation with President Trump and Secretary Mullen. The president was very gracious, as was Secretary Mullen, who I spoke with 2 times earlier in the day today. I spoke to the president about what's going on. And spoke in pretty clear fashion about how dire the situation is. He understands that. He knew that going into the call. He expressed his support for what the people are going through out here. And I deeply appreciate him taking time from his obviously busy schedule to hear about what's happening from folks on the ground and to offer their support, and to Secretary Mullen as well. We also appreciate that we had the historical floods not too long ago in the state, that we received emergency support in the short term as well as long-term FEMA support. So we have strong relationships with the federal government from that experience and with FEMA. As for FEMA, just to be clear, when we make requests for federal assistance from FEMA, I'm going to oversimplify this a little bit, but there are essentially 2 kinds of requests. Short-term emergency response, for example, search and rescue, clearing debris. We just got off a call. Many of the folks here were there for a call that I had with FEMA's Region 10 administrator to make that request for specific items needed in the very short term. So that request has gone in, and we anticipate that that will be granted much in the same way it was for the flood. We have a good relationship with FEMA and had a very productive call, and we appreciate FEMA on extremely short notice taking the time to work with us And we also appreciate all of our local partners who we depend on to get the information of what the needs are on the ground. We had that meeting earlier today and communicate that to FEMA. And so we do anticipate that being granted in the near future. The second piece from FEMA is the more long-term relief. That takes more time. Obviously, we've already begun our work on that, but just want to separate out those two things. So the request has gone in for that short-term, what we call emergency assistance from the administration, but obviously simultaneously, we're going to get to work on that long-term assistance as well. Maybe just last thing I'll say is, I lived in Spokane for a time after I finished law school. I know this community well. My son's about to go to Gonzaga, so we know this community well. My daughter was playing in a softball tournament at Dwight Merkle Ball Fields about 6 weeks ago. She played there last year. When I come to Spokane, which is frequently, I don't stay in a hotel. I stay at a friend's place, which is a house that had to be evacuated. I don't know how that house is doing, but we stay at a location that is extremely close to where I know homes were destroyed. So I'm very, very familiar with the communities that are impacted. I stay there on a regular basis. I walk those neighborhoods. I know it well. My daughter plays on the ball fields. I have an appreciation for the impact at that very, very local level and how devastating that is for so many individuals. So again, we're in for the long haul. Deeply appreciate the strong partnership. And one of those key partners, of course, has been Senator Cantwell, who's with us today. And I'll turn it over to Senator Cantwell now.
Well, thank you, Governor. Spokane and the state of Washington has faced a historic weather event. And that historic weather event has caused probably one of the biggest damages that we've seen in the Spokane area in the history of our state. But it also has been met with a historic response by our first responders. And I want to thank them, especially the fire chief, Tom Williams, the police chief, Kevin Hall, and Sheriff Knowles. Thank you for the first responders and everything that you've done to respond to this fire. The mayor called me last night about 9:30 and said, we need help. And she wanted to make sure that everybody was alerted at the federal level. The governor was already on it. And so I want to thank Governor Ferguson and Mayor Brown for their great leadership in responding so quickly to make sure that every resource would be available for the state of Washington. General Welsh, it's great to be with you and all the work that you've done with the National Guard to be part of that first responders unit, and with my colleague, Congressman Baumgartner, who has created a partnership here to make sure that our voice is one and united when it comes to the additional federal resources that we need at this event. We now know that there are thousands of Washingtonians in Spokane area that had to be evacuated. We know there are hundreds of homes that have been destroyed. We know that we need continued help and support from everybody from weather forecasters to people just helping families know what's going to happen next. And so we just ask Washingtonians, who we say our greatest empathy to you and your families who've been displaced. There are some up here with us who have been evacuated. There are some that have lost their homes. So we are with you in this situation, and we're going to do everything we can to get the federal resources to help you. I talked to the U.S. Chief Forester, Chief Schultz, who basically said, this is the most risked and resourced fire in the United States today. It is the top fire in our nation. That means they are going to give us the resources that we need here on the ground. They are going to work with us in Washington and Oregon, and my sense is Idaho, because of what's happening there, to make sure that our region is prioritized. So Chief Schultz, we appreciate that, and you'll certainly be hearing from us on the list of things that we want to continue to see. But I ask our fellow Washingtonians to help this region, to be as patient as you can, to listen to what the first responders are saying, because we're not out of danger yet. The next couple of days will be challenging, but we are going to do everything we can to make sure the resources are here and continue to make sure that this issue gets our nation's attention. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Indeed, this is a devastating fire. We know that hundreds, if not thousands, are in a very sad and scary place right now. I want to echo the comments, thanking our first responders for what you're doing for our community. Indeed, this is an unprecedented catastrophe for the Spokane area, but I think we're going to see unprecedented collaboration in responding to this fire. I want to thank Mayor Brown, Senator Cantwell, Governor Ferguson, and everyone here working on this issue. This is not Republicans and Democrats are seeing before you. This is concerned elected officials. They're going to do what's right for this community. I did speak to Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen earlier today. We have a good personal rapport, and I think he is someone that knows Spokane. He's spent some time here in Spokane, and I know he will be supporting us in this. We have, as you heard from the governor, he has, after receiving the needed information from the partners behind us, he has made the initial request. We appreciate that very much. And I am optimistic, very optimistic that there will be additional support from FEMA. It's certainly a good precedent for our state that we were successful in that process with the terrible flooding on the west side of the state. And so we will monitor and support that process as it goes forward. But I will just also add, and others will go into deeper detail, while we will do everything we can to get support from the federal government, the key point for support here is from our neighbors and our communities and our friends and families. There are going to be ways the city will be telling you that you can support, the people of the Spokane area can support, and we're going to need that. So thanks, everyone. Be safe. Doesn't look like the weather's getting a lot better for the next week to 10 days. It's still going to be dry, so we need to continue to have people be alert and follow the emergency management systems. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Upthegrove. I am Washington State's elected Commissioner of Public Lands, where I serve as Director of the State Department of Natural Resources, the state agency responsible for wildland wildfire response. And we are doing absolutely everything in our power to keep this city and this community safe. We immediately were able to access a complex incident management team. We have some of the best leadership in the nation leading the response on this fire. We've brought significant assets to bear, both rotor and fixed wing aircraft, engines, dozers, hand crews. We have more than 900 individuals among the different agencies battling the Spokane complex fires. It's worth noting that this is one of 15 major fires burning throughout the state of Washington right now. More than 250,000 acres are on fire in this state. This is an extraordinary wildfire season in the Pacific Northwest. It's not a normal season. A confluence of weather conditions, a confluence of fires throughout the West are stretching our resources and challenging the individuals in this response. You know, I think all of us hold in our hearts the families who've lost their homes, those that are currently displaced, particularly those who are medically fragile. And, you know, I've seen Spokane go through big challenges like this before, and Spokane is a resilient and strong community that is going to rebuild. Everyone has a role to play in an incident like this. First and foremost, if you receive an evacuation notice, heed that notice and evacuate immediately. Wildfires move deceptively fast, can change direction suddenly, and are deadly. We've seen the loss of life already earlier this summer from folks in the path of wildfires. Second, let's not forget prevention. Don't be the spark that starts the next fire. There's no need right now. Be safe in everything you do so we don't start additional fires to make this situation even more difficult. And finally, as folks are battling these fires, we have about 4,000 individuals fighting fires in this state right now. There are people running and putting their lives into harm's way, running into the woods. And I think we all need to send our thoughts and our prayers to those who are working so hard day in and day out Here in Spokane, you're very fortunate to have incredible emergency response agencies at the city and the county that are working collaboratively with the State Department of Natural Resources. We're very appreciative and supportive of our federal partners. We're getting strong support from the U.S. Forest Service and other federal partners. At the end of the day, we're going to keep working hard to get this fire out and keep this community safe. With that, I will turn it over to
General.
Good afternoon, Major General Gent Welsh, WELSH. So I'm the state's adjutant general. So that means that not only the folks standing behind me, but I've got over 8,000 National Guardsmen in this state standing beside this community and standing beside me, ready to help. So let's talk about the fact that Spokane woke up this morning to a tremendous tragedy. So having lived in this city for many years, met my wife in this city, had 2 kids in this city, went to college in this city. The damage here is very personal. And having lost a home back myself in 2018, I can completely empathize and understand what the pain that this community is feeling. But let's talk about some of the things that are going on right now and some of the actions that this state is doing for this community. I'll tell you, emergency management, disaster response is an absolute team sport. And what you've got standing behind me is a team that went through 4 stages of group dynamics in less than an hour in this building. So this is a team that quickly formed, quickly gelled around exactly what needed to happen, and is laser focused on not only just response in this community, but long-term recovery. So again, you've got the entire resources right now, the National Guard available. So what we have right now, we have over 100 National Guard members serving on Spokane streets right now. These are folks that wear a uniform like me. And I want to make it absolutely clear, every one of those National Guard members is a volunteer, and every one of those National Guard members is here to assist you and is here to assist the Spokane law enforcement community. Don't make up any other reasons for why the National Guard is on your streets. They are here to help you, and they're here to help law enforcement. Again, as we look to the future, there's going to be other challenges that we're going to have to face. Getting folks back into their areas, it's going to take some time. You're going to need some patience out there. Again, when you run into traffic control points, you run into folks out there, they're doing that for your safety, and they're doing that for the safety of your property. You don't want to be let in and then have others come running around your stuff. So just please respect those traffic control points. There's probably plenty of ways to get around it, but you need to follow the team that's out there asking you to do that. Again, as we look into long-term recovery, it's going to take some time to get the debris removed. It's going to take some time to get the utilities restored. We've got Vista here to talk to you as well. But just again, understand somebody that wears a uniform like this every day, this is what your National Guard is prepared to do. This is what we train to do, and we're here as long as it takes. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, and then.
Thank you, Mayor. Spokane County Commissioner Chris Jordan, representing District 1, including many people up on 5 Mile. This has been a devastating event for our community and for so many people across the county. It's obviously an ongoing, very dangerous situation. I just wanted to remind everyone to heed the evacuation orders and listen to the direction of emergency personnel. One of the first people I reached out to yesterday was the governor, and I said, we need all the help we can get in Spokane. And the governor responded saying, we are on it. So thank you, Governor Ferguson, for being here and for your leadership. As we start to hear about preliminary numbers of structures impacted, let's keep in mind that every one of those is a family's dream and sense of security, and that's really important. I was in touch throughout the day yesterday with the mayor, the sheriff, and many others. I had relatives up on 5 Mile that I was talking to while they were trying to get out up there. And at one point, you know, they're trying to get out and they're in their car and all they can see is smoke everywhere. And it was incredibly scary for so many people like that. So I was conveying some of those concerns to the mayor and the sheriff, and I just wanted to say thank you to the police officers, everyone who is involved directing traffic to get people out. And they did make it out. Their home is not standing, we believe. But everyone, I think, in this county is going to have a story like that of someone who's been impacted, people who are taking in family and loved ones. It's shocking, but it is So important that we come together as a county like never before and support each other, check on friends, family, and the vulnerable. I did get a chance to go by the Red Cross shelter, and I spoke to a nurse who had just dropped everything from being on vacation out of town to come back and help. So that's who we are in Spokane County. The county commissioners declared an emergency in the county last night. That ensures that the emergency management department and the sheriff's office can operate with maximum speed, and it shows our commitment to doing all we can to help those impacted. A few more specific notes from the county. Our staff at the county fairgrounds are working to prepare the fairgrounds, if needed, for first responders to use that as a staging area. So we will be ready to offer the county fairgrounds if needed. In the meantime, right now, people who have livestock, pets can come to the fairgrounds. There is an ability to have people come in RV campers if they are prepared to camp. Please go through the red gate off of Broadway. We would urge people as well to follow the official county emergency management page, also Spokane Regional Emergency Communications. That is where the official evacuation maps are posted. I did speak with Prosecutor McCollum, and he asked me to pass along a message that if anybody takes advantage of the suffering of others for looting, theft, or other crimes, there will be no tolerance. They will be aggressively prosecuted. I also spoke with our County Veterans Service Office Service Center. If there are veterans out there that have questions about their benefits as it relates to accessing care at facilities other than the VA hospital, we would offer our Veterans Service Center as a resource. People can search for Spokane County Veterans Services. They will do all they can to assist and work with the VA and other entities. The phone number is 509-477-3690. The sheriff is here as well. If there are questions for him, I just want to thank Sheriff Knowles for all you and your team are doing at the EOC. Thank you, Commissioner Kearns, as well. We've been in constant communication. Thank you all.
Thank you. I'm Heather Rosentrader, President and CEO of Avista. I'm a lifelong Spokane community member and honored to be able to serve my community in that respect. And so, of course, as everyone said, it's been extraordinarily difficult and heartbreaking weekend for our community. Many families have lost homes, been displaced by evacuations, or continue to face significant uncertainty. And this includes some of our employees who are experiencing some of these impacts firsthand as well. And our thoughts are with everyone affected by these devastating fires, and we remain committed to supporting our customers and communities throughout the recovery process. And I appreciate the opportunity to give more of an operational update about where things are at from our perspective in terms of getting customers restored. And our crews are working around the clock to assess damage, make repairs, restore service as quickly and safely as possible. We have over 50 crews actively supporting and prepared to support restoration, including Avista crews, contract crews. We've also engaged with our peer utilities across the region. I've had many reach out to me offering to help, and we will likely take advantage of that, their support through mutual aid. We're waiting to be able to assess the situation so we better understand the scope and the time frame that we can safely make those restorations. We're starting to get access to impacted areas. Thank you so much, Mayor Brown, and thanks to just our coordinated partnerships and responding agencies. However, many of the impacted areas do remain inaccessible due to the ongoing fire activity and evacuation orders. And so we don't have a complete understanding of the damage at this point. Related to our electric customers, what we do know is that we currently have just over 10,000 customers that are out of power, mainly in Spokane, but also up in the Colville area. At the peak, we had over 30,000 customers out yesterday afternoon. Of those 30,000, 6,717 were out of power due to the proactive, preventative, like has been shared before, power outages. And we were able to repair or patrol and restore all of the customers who were impacted by those preventative power outages that were solely impacted by those this morning. So all of that has been restored. That was solely due to those preventative outages. To achieve that, our crews worked throughout last night, used drones to get ground patrols in the affected areas to make sure it was safe before we could re-energize the system. And crews made the necessary repairs. We did find some issues on some of those, and so we feel that it reinforced the value of some of those proactive de-energizations, because we did find some trees in those lines that could have made an already really tragic situation even worse. So as of this morning, with 10,000 customers that are out, about 8,600 of those are related to the Indian Trail 9-mile area fires, and evacuation areas. About 1,500 are the result of the Colville and Davenport area fires, and about 400 are related to the Meade area fires. And the numbers do continue to change, but we'll continue to keep the community updated through our outage map and continued communications. And we currently expect restoration work impacted by the fires to last through today and into the week, likely, although timing could change based on fire activity. And so again, we'll keep our customers and community updated through multiple channels. The public safety power shutoffs implemented Saturday were a proactive measure to reduce wildfire risk. And again, anyone who was out of power solely because of that has been restored now. And the remaining outages are the effect of active wildfire conditions, damaged utility infrastructure, evacuation restrictions, or safety concerns that continue to limit access to the affected areas. Due to the heightened focus that we had on these high-risk areas, we don't believe our facilities were involved in the ignition of any of these major fires in our area. And so again, just reinforces that the work that we're doing is helping. We have identified significant damage specifically to portions of our transmission system, particularly in West Spokane. Our transmission facilities are critical to serving customers and are currently operating with less capability and capacity as our restoration is underway. And again, we just received access and are starting those repairs now. But until our transmission, specifically 2 lines on our transmission system, are repaired, we're operating with lower capabilities. And so we are at risk of some customers that aren't currently out now at the peak of our system during those hours of the day that our customers are using the most energy, that we could see some outages due to that reduced capability on our transmission system. And one of the things, I know we're all looking for ways we can help because those outages would be related to having not enough capacity to serve. One of the things our customers can do to help until we get those transmission lines restored is to help with conservation. And so there are some, small things our customers can do that can have a meaningful impact related to turning your thermostats down just a little bit, looking at limiting your large appliance use, again, and just until we get those transmission lines restored. And so we'll be communicating the progress of those over the next couple days. And those efforts can reduce the strain on the system. So related to our natural gas system, we have about 5,300 natural gas customers that remain without service. As we've shared before, restoring the natural gas system is a complex process because it requires our employees to go to every home multiple times to ensure safe restoration. And so it is different than the electric system. And so to repair damaged facilities, we have to get those inspections done beforehand. And we are working on, again, mutual aid to support us to make sure we have as many resources as needed to support that important process. And again, I want to reinforce, though, that customers should not attempt to restore natural gas service themselves. Finally, again, we're working closely with fire agencies, emergency management officials, community partners. So much appreciation for what they all are doing to support our customers and community. We appreciate the tremendous efforts And we're equally grateful for the patient's understanding and resilience demonstrated by our customers. We know that they're already going through a scary time, and not having electricity and gas just exacerbates that challenge, and we recognize that. So we understand how disruptive and stressful these outages are, and especially for those who have experienced significant loss. And we will continue to work safely, communicate transparently, and do everything we can to restore customers as quickly and safely as possible. And we'll continue to provide updates as we know more. So thank you very much.
Okay, the city and the county are going through a comprehensive asset mapping of all of our assets in water, wastewater, stormwater, water reclamation, and we're not going to give you that inventory today, but we will have that available soon. And that is information we're gathering both for the safety and service of our customers, but also to provide the federal government with some of the information they need in the response. For everyone's information, the manned ground staff VA hospital was in the evacuation area. It was evacuated successfully. I want to thank our healthcare partners who are engaged in helping vulnerable people and assisting people who have had to be moved from either that facility or other long-term care or assistance facilities. There are some ways people can help. The Red Cross is our partner in the convention center evacuation center. There is still capacity there, and we are organizing around both the care of the residents who are there and the basics such as water and food. Council President was there last night monitoring the water and food supply. Thank you, Council President. And if needed, a secondary site is being prepared. So we will have those sites available. The city's shelter system is on full activation, and there is capacity there as well. So you can go on our website and contact us if you need those kinds of resources. And our navigation center is going to be activated 24/7 for the foreseeable future. Some other ways to help. Our partners at the Inovia Foundation have been working with the county and the city on starting a Spokane Complex Wildfire Response Fund. So you will be able to find the donation link at novia.org. The city of Spokane has a wildfire recovery fund within our Home Starts Here fund, which is available for people to donate through their utilities or by going to the city website. Second Harvest is accepting non-perishable food donations today from 2 to 5, tomorrow starting at 8 at their East Front Avenue location. And we know of other funds that are becoming available. I think there may be one in the Valley. We will publish all of those. Please utilize official sources when you are looking at ways to help, and don't rely on pop-up non-official sources that are asking for your resources. And then, finally, we just want everyone to take care of each other. We will give regular updates. There will be an update tomorrow. I think it's reasonable to suggest evacuation areas are not opening today. So people need to prepare for where they're going to be for the rest of the day, for the night. And over time, we will also be providing additional information about housing resources, which we know will be needed by our region. We will now open it up to questions.
Earlier that there's no update on deaths. Have there been any reported injuries because of the fire?
Sheriff,
No, we don't have any reported injuries, at least not to Crime Check or 911, and no reported deaths as of yet. Because of the scale of this and what it takes to, do those kinds of investigations in an active fire scene, that could change. We're hoping that that's not the case. I will say for people who are trying to locate loved ones who are displaced, particularly if they're in the evacuation areas, if you are not able to contact a loved one that should have been or might have been in that location, call Crime Check, 509-456-2233, and ask to make a missing persons report. Both the city and county have law enforcement trying to look into as many of those cases as we can. But as of right now, we are not aware of any fatalities or serious injuries.
I have a couple of questions on the price gouging front. I know we're very early into this, but I'm not sure if this is a question for you, Mayor, but what are we doing to ensure that price gouging isn't taking place in case maybe someone is trying to get a hotel this evening? And then on the small business side, there's a lot of small businesses that are closed because of the level 3 evacuations. There are federal assistance that can be provided to those people who are losing bottom line.
Well, again, I would think we would encourage people both seek out official sources, not pop-up requests for assistance. When it comes to housing resources, there are housing resources still available at the convention center that are no cost. And I hope and I believe people are reaching out to their friends and families to provide housing assistance as well. And when it comes to small business assistance, we will be putting that through our channels at both the State Department of Commerce and the federal agencies.
And there is a federal price gouging law that was based on a case where somebody in the New England area tried to overcharge for a snow blower in the middle of a snowstorm. So there is a federal law and we will use it. Governor?
If I can just add one, just on your price gouging question. So having spent 12 years as Attorney General, I know that in a situation like this, Nick Brown is a fantastic Attorney General, leads a great team, does great work. I'm very, very confident that consumer protection team is actively tracking anytime there's a situation remotely as large as what we're seeing here. There's a team that's activated and monitoring that closely. And we would, again, I don't want to speak for the Attorney General, but if folks, individuals see what they think might be price gouging, I would encourage them to absolutely communicate to the AG's office, the Consumer Protection Division, to file a complaint. That certainly helped us during COVID times, for example, right? And would certainly help the AG's office today.
Hey, Governor, just to follow up, I know you spoke to President Congressman, we spoke yesterday about your communications with the administration, but I'll be transparent. I was in Malden when it burned to the ground, and federal funds were withheld from this community, the community of Malden.
Yes.
How do we ensure that does not happen in this situation? You will, that the president will deliver.
Yeah, what I would say is that in my time as governor, we had a large disaster with the flood. And I obviously am aware of sometimes the challenges of some states receiving FEMA funding. Of all the news. And so I did not view that as, hey, we're just not going to get it. Rather, and we talked about this in a meeting earlier, we just doubled down as a state on making as compelling a case as possible. We reached out, every member of our federal delegation, for example, signed a letter of support. We did a video that had bipartisan elected officials speaking in communities all across the state impacted. We just really moved heaven and earth to make it as persuasive as humanly possible. And I will say, to make sure that it wasn't just a document. What's typically done when you make that request, it's a very lengthy document, typewritten words on a piece of paper. I felt we should do something in addition to that, which was literally doing a video so one could actually see the damage from those floods, homes literally going down rivers, right? I'm confident you'll see something similar. You will see, we will utilize the visuals of what I've certainly seen and what you've all seen, thanks to the media, by the way, for getting that information out there, to make sure it's not just dry words on a piece of paper, right? That we'll be working just as we did before to make sure that the folks who make these decisions back in Washington, D.C. fully understand the breadth and scope of this disaster. And I will just say, I can't speak to the past. I wasn't governor then. But what I can say is I deeply appreciate the president taking time. I think I requested a conversation. I'm losing track of the hours here today, but just a few hours ago. And I was on the phone with him literally a couple hours later. And I had the clear sense he understood what was going on. I had the clear sense he'd been briefed on what was going on. He was knowledgeable about the situation. And I appreciated that. So and I think the people that say Washington should know that. So I can't promise the future, but what I can promise is we will be making a very, very persuasive case. You'll see that same work from folks all across this community to be in conversation with the federal government, and we'll do everything we can because we know how important those resources are for individuals, for businesses, for communities. We desperately, for infrastructure, we desperately need those resources.
Seattle, I think this is a question for Dave. Can you talk about where resources are coming from? When we were driving over today, we saw an engine in a truck from Salt Lake City. We were also curious if resources from the west side of the state.
Yep. For all of the fires in Washington state right now, we have support from more than a dozen states, from Florida to Alaska, as well as a small team from Australia. And this support comes in different forms, equipment or personnel. I'll let the incident command here speak specifically to who's on this fire. But the state does have mutual aid agreements in place prior to fire season that we negotiate throughout the United States, so that when we need an asset, we can see who has it and acquire it. When another state has an asset, when we have something they need, we help them. The challenge is this summer, the whole Western United States is on fire and these assets are being spread thin. But we have more than a dozen states, and as well as the nation of Australia, represented in Washington state right now. On this fire, I'll have to let you know afterwards which teams are here.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so there was a lot of frustration regarding evacuations yesterday with gridlock. I spoke to one person who said a normal 20-minute drive took well over 2 hours for them to make last night. What plans are in place to help kind of ease that in the future? And then there was also reports of a motorcyclist who was injured during evacuation yesterday. Is there any updates regarding his condition?
On the issue of the traffic congestion yesterday, I'll say one thing and then turn it over to the chief. Our preliminary indications is that people were very responsive to the evacuation orders and that we had a very high percentage of people. And so that is good news. And it also led to traffic congestion. In terms of how we dealt with it, I'll turn to Chief Hall.
Yeah, just to give you a level of the scope of the evacuations. In that particular area, in the level 3 evacuation area, there are over 14,000 structures. A little over 10,000 of those are either single family or multifamily residences. The latest numbers we have from about an hour ago are that about 60,000 individuals were evacuated in that amount of time. I think that's extraordinary. And my hat's off to both the firefighters and the law enforcement who are there. But that's a lot of people trying to get out of a couple of real choke points that have been problematic for that particular area for a while now. It was not unknown to us. We were aware of it, and we did as best as we could to get people out of there in that amount of time. But we're talking about 60,000 individuals. And I have no information on the motorcyclist. And just let me clarify, the numbers I just gave you are strictly for the city limits.
And then just to follow up on that real quick, is there an update regarding, we have the individual numbers, but is there an update on the amount of structures that were potentially threatened throughout the fires in the area?
I would leave that up to Chief Williams.
Well, then I actually don't have the whole number of structures that were threatened between the city and Fire District 9 and Fire District 10. Those numbers will be coming out more in the future. Today, this morning, the Critical Incident Management Team 7 with Incident Commander Tom Clemmo took over, and we'll start getting a little bit more information from that team as we move forward.
I just had something.
Just one second. I just want to say on the evacuation, as someone who was evacuated off 5 Mile Prairie, there's only 4 ways up and down there. One, I want to speak to some of the best of what I saw yesterday. And as people were evacuating early, I did see citizens getting out, directing traffic in a way that made it orderly. I expressed my concerns about moving it along as things were getting smoky to the mayor and others. And by the time I hit the bottom of Cedar and Ash, 2 SPD officers were directing traffic in a way that was heroic. People were moving. A lot of people were getting off the prairie very quickly once that was put in place. So my gratitude there. I also want to remind people, when you're asked to evacuate, do it. Don't wait. I'm State Senator Marcus Riccelli, by the way. I represent portions of the 5 Mile. The concern that I saw too, though, was people panicking, people driving down the wrong side of the road before both sides were opened up, not allowing vehicles to move up. And so just remain calm. We've got now National Guard here. We got law enforcement, and they'll get people out. So follow those orders. Thank you.
We could take a couple more questions.
Yeah, Bradley from Mount Public HQ. So I'm just wondering on the basics front, have we identified where this started? Have we identified a cause? Do we have any number of injury, or are we still at where we were at yesterday? Just generic information as well.
Yeah, this fire started in Fire District 10. Chief Don Malone was the initial incident commander, traveled through the city and into Chief Matt Vincey's Fire District 9. We don't know the cause. It's still under investigation. I think we've said once there's no reported injuries that we're aware of right now. Today is only day 2, so time will tell.
Is this the worst fire that's happened in Washington State history?
I couldn't speak for Washington State. I can tell you that I believe it is probably for the city of Spokane and our partnering regional agencies.
What is the cost going to look like for recovery of a event like this?
Not sure. Right.
Yeah, let the governor take it.
I can just add to that. So, I mean, it's obviously an extremely important question. Obviously, we don't have anywhere near that information for all sorts of obvious reasons, right? So what I will say, though, is that there will be an accounting of that. So when we make our request for FEMA assistance, that's part of the information that we need to pull together. So the state works very closely with local elected officials, local folks, to compile all that information of damaged business, individuals, homes, et cetera. We pull all that information together and then submit it to the federal government. So we obviously don't have that information today for all sorts of obvious reasons, but there will come a time when we gather that information. That does take some time, which we appreciate people's patience, and we'll communicate that out, obviously, to the media once we have that type of information.
I just am curious about the natural gas shutoff that took place yesterday. There's been questions about the timeliness of that. Could you explain how that policy works and when it's made?
I know we're working with the first responders and we're taking their lead on when they think it needs to happen from a safety perspective. So as I communicated with our team, it sounded like that was just as expected with that coordination.
Mayor, we have a couple of questions from the folks on the webinar.
Okay.
That Ryan Roderick can read off.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan.
From Jerry Kornfeld, we have any idea as to the cause?
I think we covered that. We do not at this point in time. That it's under investigation.
And from Christina at the New York Times, do we have anyone unaccounted for? Joseph Sullivan at the Times.
So just to close loop on that question about unaccounted for, I'm just going to channel the chief here. That was mentioned earlier. This report may come on later, and the answer was there's nobody currently unaccounted for. But I think the chief mentioned that could obviously change given the scope of the challenge.
Yeah, and people who are concerned about someone who they have not had contact with should report to Crime Check. And both city and county law enforcement are doing those welfare checks.
From Joe Sullivan, specifically for Governor Ferguson, you had mentioned specific items requested. What were those specifics?
Oh, thanks for that question. My apologies if I didn't cover that. I probably written it down, and I'm going to ask the general to assist me because I'm now working off memory. And if we neglect to include everything, we'll follow up, and Veronica can follow up with a list. But I know search and rescue was a part of that request. I know that housing assistance was a part of that request. I know that assistance with literally food, right? So folks who need 3 meals a day right now was certainly a part of that request. I know that debris removal was a part of that request. And I'm going to turn to the general, hopefully maybe. So I think that's, and I forgot who asked that question, but they should feel free to reach out to Brianna just to make sure I didn't miss an item in there. But it's a fairly, this is just to emphasize, as folks who were there on the call, things move very quickly, right? And so we're reaching out to local officials. We depend on them for what they need. That may change as they get a greater sense of the scope of the tragedy. But I just really want to emphasize for the FEMA officials, they move very, very quickly. They arranged that call. We had it just before the press conference. Why, frankly, we were a little bit delayed was getting that call in. So that request has been made, and they moved very quickly with the flood request for that short-term assistance. We literally had assistance within hours, and I'm optimistic it'll be a similar response. But I want to emphasize we're deeply grateful to FEMA for how quickly they respond to us.
Real quickly, I just was wondering, we've heard reports of possible looting taking place in evening hours. Any arrests made on that front, or any solace you can provide to people that are concerned about their homes?
Yes, we had the same reports. We've investigated each and every one. And once again, I want to say I'm speaking strictly for the city. The sheriff can certainly speak for the county. And we found no credibility to any of those. We're using all of the tools available to us and all of the technology available to us to protect folks' property and their homes while they're not there.
Chief, does that mean you have deputies out patrolling neighborhoods or stationed in neighborhoods? I can't remember.
We have officers. Yesterday, we had the assistance of the county and the deputies as the fires grew in the county. Obviously, they had to siphon off their resources. But now we have over, general, I believe it's over 100 National Guardsmen who are assisting us in safeguarding the property in those neighborhoods.
Sure.
I'm County Commissioner Josh Kearns. One of the other things I wanted to touch on in regards to not only the potential for looting, but is during the recovery process, the victims of these fires are going to be approached by a lot of people that are going to try to sell them things. We noticed during the Grayson, Oregon road fire a couple of years ago, many times those are not the best actors. Sometimes those individuals do not deliver on those promises. So I just really want to encourage folks who have been victims of these fires, do your research. If you are hiring someone, if you are exchanging money for a service, make sure you do the research on those individuals to just make sure that you are working with positive actors who are actually going to deliver on what it is that they are offering you. And then also a part of the recovery, we do have the benefit of having a Spokane Regional Long-Term Recovery Group that was stood up as a part of the Gray and Oregon road fire, and they will play a huge part in this recovery as well, and they will be much more forward-facing when we get to that stage. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I wanted to, do we have time? One more question, and then I have a story to close.
If there is any homes that are still at risk, and if the fire is still continuing to grow past its current boundaries.
Yeah. Either.
Yes, there are. This fire is still very active, and it's going to be for some time until we can get crews to visit every place that was affected by it. As far as its outside boundaries, I would not say that it's contained. But we have what we feel like is relatively decent control, but it can change at any time. I mean, today's weather was a concern with a different wind direction. So this is very dynamic, and it will be for a little bit more time.
I just want to close with a story. I was at the convention center this morning at the evacuation center, and thanks to Red Cross and the volunteers, it was calm and organized, and people were being cared for. And someone recognized me and called me over, and it was a woman and her son, and the son had evacuated when the order came out, and his mother had refused, and someone knocked on her door, and I don't know if this was city or county sheriff, because they were both out there doing that, and they convinced her to leave, and they helped her evacuate with her 4 cats. And she's in a safe place right now because of our first responders and because of our community's assistance to her. And we just have to keep that moving forward regardless of what the fires bring us. So thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you. Good job. Good job, Michael.